It's thinner than a deck of cards and lighter than a chocolate bar, yet it carries more technology than the computers that launched a space mission. The Apple Watch isn't just a wearable. It's a precision-engineered marvel, packed with sensors, chips, and microscopic components that somehow all fit onto your wrist. This isn't something that gets slapped together in a day. It starts with raw materials: aluminum, stainless steel, titanium, ceramic, each selected not just for strength or style, but for how it reacts to heat, how it holds up under pressure, how it feels against your skin after hours of wear. The glass isn't just glass. It's Onyx or sapphire crystal, tested to withstand scratches, drops, and the occasional brush with concrete. And inside, that's where things get wild. There's a chip that powers everything, custom designed by Apple, and built to be insanely efficient. Tiny circuit boards are layered and folded like origami to save space. The battery, the haptics engine, the speaker, the microphone, they all get slotted in with millimeter precision. It takes custom-built robots to assemble the tiniest parts. Some machines use suction so gentle it wouldn't disturb a feather, yet accurate enough to place components narrower than a grain of sand. Lasers weld the case with seams so smooth they're practically invisible. And yes, even the band is part of the story. It's tested for thousands of pulls, snaps, and stretches before it ever gets near a store shelf. This level of detail doesn't happen by accident. It's not just design, it's obsession. Every part, every process, every polish has a purpose. The Apple Watch may be small, but the way it's made, that's a giant leap in modern manufacturing. And once you see what goes into it, you'll never look at it the same way again. From dust to design, where the Apple Watch really begins. The Apple Watch doesn't start in a factory. It begins as raw material, things that look like nothing special on their own. Aluminum, stainless steel, titanium, ceramic, tiny crystals, and bits of silicon. All of it looks like dust, powder, or metal blocks. But these basic elements are the starting point for something high-tech, stylish, and incredibly smart. Apple doesn't just grab any metal off the shelf. The aluminum is specially chosen for its strength, lightweight, and ability to resist rust. The stainless steel is polished so perfectly, it reflects like a mirror. Titanium? It's lighter and tougher than steel, used in things like spacecrafts. Even the ceramic version isn't just white. It's baked at high heat until it's harder than steel. But it doesn't stop with just what material they use. It's about where it comes from too. Apple tries to source recycled aluminum and uses suppliers that meet strict environmental rules. They even use gold and rare earth materials in the internal parts, and a lot of that it is recycled too. The design starts long before the watch takes shape. Apple's designers spend months working on how it will feel, not just how it will look. The goal is to make something that feels natural on your wrist, like it belongs there. Not too heavy, not too sharp, not too bulky. And here's something wild. Every single piece, even the tiniest screws, are tested for color, texture, and how they react with skin, sweat, and temperature. That's how deep the design goes. From dust and raw elements to a clean, modern smartwatch, this is where it all begins. Design obsession. Crafting the first invisible version. Before a single Apple Watch is built, there's a stage most people never see. It's not in a factory. It's not in a lab. It happens inside Apple's design studios, where nothing is good enough until it's perfect. The first version of the Apple Watch that gets created is the one you buy. It's invisible. It's an idea, a shape, a sketch. Apple's designers build dozens, sometimes hundreds, of 3D models using foam, clay, or even paper. They try every curve, size, and edge to see what feels right. Not just what looks cool, but what feels natural on the wrist. They test how the watch fits under a shirt sleeve, how it looks when your wrist turns, how it catches light. They even study how it looks on different skin tones, because design isn't just about one person, it's for everyone. Then comes digital modeling. Every line and corner is drawn with software, checked from every angle. Apple doesn't guess. They measure. They tweak by fractions of a millimeter until it feels balanced. Light enough to forget it's there, but solid enough to feel valuable. Buttons are tested for click feel. The crown is turned over and over until it rolls with just the right amount of resistance. Even the size of the gap between the case and the band measured, adjusted, tested again. And here's the thing. Most of these early models never see the light of day. They're built just to be thrown away. because Apple's design team believes the final product should be simple on the outside, even if it took 100 messy versions to get there. Microscopic precision, the art of miniaturization. Inside the Apple Watch is an entire computer, but doesn't look like one. There's no big circuit board, no chunky battery, no space to waste. Every single part is shrunk down, shaped, and stacked with unbelievable precision. This is where miniaturization becomes an art form. Apple's custom S-series chip is the brain of the watch. It controls everything: apps, messages, fitness tracking, and more. But it's not just powerful, it's tiny. It's built as a system in package, meaning everything is packed into one small unit, like layers of a sandwich: processor, memory, wireless parts, all stacked together to save space. The battery? It's small, curved, and shaped to fit around other components. Sensors, like the heart rate monitor, blood oxygen detector, and accelerometer are all squeezed into tiny areas. And nothing overlaps or gets in the way. Every wire, every connector, even the glue, carefully planned. Some of these components are so small they're measured in microns, thinner than a human hair. That's why Apple uses special robots and machines that work with pinpoint accuracy. If something is even slightly out of place, the whole system can fail. This is also why the watch feels solid but not bulky. Everything is placed to keep weight low and performance high. Even the speaker and microphone are made to take up as little space as possible while still delivering clear sound. Every bit of space inside the Apple Watch is used. There's no empty corner, no wasted room. It's like building a puzzle where every piece has to be the perfect size, shape, and position. Miniaturization isn't just about making things small. It's about making them smarter, tighter, and more efficient than ever before. This is technology packed with precision, made to fit on your wrist. Robot surgeons, machines that build like artists. When you picture robots, you might think of big clunky machines with metal arms. But the robots that help build the Apple Watch, they're nothing like that. These robots are more like surgeons, precise, delicate, and fast. They work with incredible care, handling tiny parts that are smaller than your fingertip. Apple uses robots to assemble the watch with perfect accuracy. These robots don't just snap parts together. They use suction cups, laser guidance, and tools that can place a component so carefully. It feels like an artist painting a masterpiece. They can pick up a microchip or sensor no bigger than a grain of rice and place it in the exact spot needed. The precision is mind-blowing. A robot can place tiny screws so small they're barely visible to the human eye. And they do it consistently, hundreds of times a minute. This level of accuracy is crucial. If even one part is off by a fraction of a millimeter, it could ruin the entire watch. So, Apple's robots are programmed to handle each part with laser-sharp precision. Then there's the assembly of the screen and casing. These robots work like surgeons stitching the watch's body together. They apply pressure to bond the glass to the metal case, making sure it's perfect, without cracking or scratching. One misstep, and the watch could be ruined. That's why Apple trusts robots with this task. But it's not just about speed. These robots are also smart. They learn and adapt as they go. They can detect flaws in materials, identify any missing components, and even adjust on the fly. In the end, these robots don't just build. They bring each Apple Watch closer to perfection. And that's why the process looks almost like a dance. Each machine moves with purpose, assembling your watch with a precision that's hard to believe. The screen that fights back. The screen on the Apple Watch is more than just a place to read notifications. It's the face of the watch, the part that gets touched, tapped, and sweat thousands of times. And it has to be strong, really strong. Apple doesn't just use any glass for the screen. They use either Ion-X glass or sapphire crystal. Both materials are made to be tough enough to survive the daily bumps and drops. But making them strong isn't easy. The process starts with the raw material itself. Ion-X glass is created by a special process that strengthens the glass by putting it under extreme pressure. The molecules inside the glass are rearranged to create a super tough, scratch-resistant surface. It's lighter than sapphire, but still hard enough to resist most everyday damage. For the higher-end Apple Watch models, Apple uses sapphire crystal, which is one of the hardest materials on Earth. Sapphire is used in things like camera lenses and even the windows on high-end watches. It's incredibly tough, and it can withstand scratches that would leave most other glass cracked or chipped. But it's also tricky to work with. Sapphire is so hard that it has to be carefully cut and polished, using lasers to get just right. Once the glass is shaped, it's tested in extreme conditions. Apple drops it, presses it, and even tries to scratch it with tools that simulate real-life accidents. The goal is to make sure that the screen doesn't just survive, it thrives no matter what you put it through. That's why the Apple Watch screen feels so smooth, yet tough at the same time. It's built to fight back against the world, and it does so with style and strength. Fusion welding, seamless, without a trace. The Apple Watch's sleek, smooth design isn't just for looks. It's a product of something called fusion welding, a super precise process that seals the case without a single visible seam. You won't see screws or weld marks. In fact, the case comes together so perfectly that it feels like a single, unbroken piece of metal. Fusion welding is a technique that uses extreme heat to melt two materials and fuse them together. But it's not just about melting metal. It's about controlling the heat so precisely that the parts blend together seamlessly, without warping or causing any damage. Apple uses lasers to make this happen. These lasers focus on the edges of the case, melting them just enough to bond them together, creating a perfect seal. The beauty of this process is that it's almost invisible. Unlike traditional welding where screws that leave marks, fusion welding leaves no trace. Once it's done, the surface looks smooth and polished, like the watch was carved from a single piece of material. This method not only makes the watch look cleaner, but also makes it more durable. With no gaps or seams, there's less chance for dust, moisture, or dirt to get inside, which means the watch can survive in harsh conditions without losing its sleek finish. And it's not just about appearance. Fusion welding helps the Apple Watch achieve better waterproofing. With a perfectly sealed case, it can handle water splashes, sweat, and even a swim in the pool, all while keeping the delicate inner components safe. Fusion welding isn't just a technical trick. It's a key part of what makes the Apple Watch feel high-end, both in durability and in the smoothness of its design. Sensors with superpowers. The Apple Watch isn't just a device that tells time or tracks steps. It's packed with sensors that give it superpowers. These sensors allow the watch to monitor your heart rate, detect changes in your blood oxygen levels, and even measure how much you move, all in real time. And are all packed into a tiny, slim device on your wrist. One of the most impressive sensors is the heart rate monitor. It uses infrared light to detect blood flow under your skin. The sensor shines light onto your wrist, and then it measures how much of that light gets reflected back. Based on the amount of light absorbed, the Apple Watch can determine your heart rate. This process happens every second, giving you an accurate reading without you having to do anything. But it doesn't stop there. The Apple Watch also has an electrocardiogram (ECG) feature, which records the electrical activity of your heart. This sensor can detect signs of irregular heart rhythms, giving you peace of mind. If it notices something unusual, the watch will alert you to take further action, which could be life-saving. Next, there's the blood oxygen sensor. It works using the same principle as the heart rate sensor, but instead of measuring light absorption in blood vessels, it checks how much oxygen is in your blood. This is a crucial feature, especially for those who want to track their fitness or monitor their overall health. Finally, the accelerometer and gyroscope inside the watch track your movements, whether you're walking, running, or even standing still. These sensors can detect subtle changes in your motion, allowing the Apple Watch to give you precise fitness tracking and even recognize if you've taken a hard fall. Each of these sensors is incredibly small, yet they work together to provide real-time, accurate health data, like having a personal health assistant on your wrist. These superpowers don't just make the Apple Watch smart. They make it essential for anyone who cares about their health and well-being. Bands that do more than look good. When you think of the Apple Watch, your mind probably jumps to its sleek screen or the powerful technology inside. But one thing that's just as important, and just as carefully designed, is the band. The band might seem like a simple part of the watch, but it plays a bigger role than just looking good on your wrist. First, let's talk about comfort. Apple understands that you're going to wear this band all day, every day, so it has to be comfortable. The materials used, like soft silicone, breathable nylon, or even high-quality leather, are chosen not only for their look, but for how they feel against your skin. The silicone bands are soft but durable, while the leather bands provide a classic, elegant feel. Each material is tested for flexibility, softness, and comfort, so you'll never feel like your watch is digging into your wrist. But it's not just about comfort. The band also has to be strong and secure. Apple puts each band through rigorous tests to make sure it holds up over time. The bands are stretched, pulled, and twisted to make sure they don't wear out easily. They even test how the bands hold up to sweat, water, and constant movement. After all, you might be running, swimming, or doing yoga with your Apple Watch, so it has to stay securely in place. Then, there's the magic of the click-in mechanism. The way the band clicks into place is satisfying and simple, but it's not just for fun. Apple designs this mechanism so it's easy to swap bands, whether you want to change your style or adapt for a workout. The click is smooth, secure, and helps make sure your watch stays safely on your wrist, no matter what you're doing. And don't forget customization. Apple offers a wide range of colors, materials, and designs, giving you the chance to personalize your watch to match your style and needs. Whether you're after something sporty or something more professional, there's a band to fit the occasion. So the band isn't just an accessory. It's a key part of the Apple Watch experience, designed for comfort, durability, and style. It's built to do more than look good. It's built to work as hard as the rest of the watch. Testing that breaks it, so you don't have to. Before your Apple Watch ever makes it to the store or your wrist, it goes through a series of brutal tests. And when we say brutal, we mean it. Apple doesn't just test the watch to see if it works. They push it to its limits to make sure it can handle whatever you throw at it. First up, water resistance. The Apple Watch is designed to survive a splash, sweat, or even a swim in the pool. But how do they know it'll really hold up? Apple uses water dunk tanks, giant machines that dunk the watch in water over and over, testing the seals, buttons, and screen. They make sure that no matter how many times it gets wet, the watch's interior stays dry. Then there's temperature testing. The Apple Watch isn't just tested in a lab at room temperature. It's put in extreme heat and cold to see how it reacts. Whether you're in the blazing sun or out in freezing conditions, Apple makes sure the watch won't stop working or lose performance. They test it in temperatures ranging from freezing cold to the kind of heat you might find on the surface of the sun, well, almost. Next, Apple runs the watch through drop tests. This is where things get intense. The watch is dropped from various heights onto different surfaces to see how well it survives the impact. They even simulate drops from your wrist height as if you accidentally knock it off the counter. The goal? To make sure it stays in one piece, with no shattered screens or broken components. And don't forget scratch tests. The Apple Watch's screen and casing are tough, but they're not invincible. To make sure they can handle everyday wear and tear, the watch is subjected to sharp objects, abrasives, and constant rubbing. If it can survive these tests, you can rest easy knowing it can handle your daily grind. Final assembly. Where human hands still matter. Even though Apple relies heavily on robots, machines, and technology to build the Apple Watch, there's one part of the process where human hands still play an irreplaceable role: the final assembly. This stage is crucial because it's where everything comes together, and Apple knows that the human touch makes all the difference. After the parts are carefully manufactured, tested, and assembled by robots, skilled technicians take over to do the final adjustments and quality checks. These workers, often with years of experience, are the ones who inspect every single watch before it's shipped out to customers. They make sure that everything, from the screen to the band to the tiny internal components, fits perfectly and functions as it should. One of the most important parts of final assembly is the screen fitting. Apple's technicians carefully align the screen with the watch case, making sure that there are no gaps and no uneven edges. They use tools and techniques that require steady hands and a sharp eye to ensure the perfect finish. This is something robots can't do with the same precision when it comes to the finer details. Battery installation is another step where human hands are essential. While robots do the heavy lifting in earlier stages, when it comes to placing the delicate battery into its slot, humans ensure it's perfectly aligned and connected. Any slight misplacement could cause issues with the watch's performance or even damage the internal components. So this step requires absolute care. Finally, the technicians do a final inspection. Every Apple Watch is powered up and tested. They check for any dead pixels, ensure the touchscreen responds to every tap and swipe, and confirm that all sensors are working correctly. And that's a wrap on the incredible journey behind the making of the Apple Watch. that go into creating a product like this are truly next level. Every step, whether it's the design, the testing, or the final assembly, shows just how much attention to detail goes into every single piece. If you found this deep dive fascinating, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes insights into the world of tech and innovation. We've got plenty more amazing content coming your way, so stay tuned. Also, feel free to leave a comment below. What's the most mind-blowing part of the Apple Watch's creation for you? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.